The space station floated like a silver wheel against the darkness. Inside, diplomats from a dozen worlds walked through bright corridors, preparing for another day of meetings. Hyun stood at the observation window, watching ships come and go. He had been a diplomat for 10 years, but he still felt excited when he saw alien vessels dock at the station. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Daehyun walked up beside him. The older man had been Hyun's military escort for 3 years now. They had become friends. "I never get tired of it," Hyun said. "Every ship carries people with their own stories, their own lives." Daehyun smiled. "That's why you're good at this job. You actually care about them." Today was important. The Veltron Empire was sending a delegation to talk about mining rights on 3 mineral-rich moons. The Veltrons were powerful, with technology that sometimes exceeded human capabilities. This negotiation needed to go well. The delegation arrived 2 hours later. Hyun watched them walk through the docking bay with Yuna, the team's xenolinguist. The Velthrons were tall, with pale blue skin that seemed to glow slightly in the station's lights. They wore long robes made of shimmering fabric that changed colors when they moved. "That's Ambassador Talvin in front," Yuna said, checking her tablet. "First son of the Empress, he's leading the delegation." "Who are the others?" Hyun asked. Yuna scrolled through her information. "Advisors, scientists, military observers, and—" She paused. "One princess. 4th daughter. She's listed, but there's almost no information about her." Hyun noticed a female Velthron walking at the back of the group. She was smaller than the others, and she kept her head down. While the other Veltrons walked with confidence, she seemed to try to take up as little space as possible. The first meeting started that afternoon. The conference room was large, with a round table big enough for everyone. Ambassador Talven sat at the center of the Veltron side. His advisors sat near him. The princess sat at the far end, almost hidden behind a tall military officer. Hyun introduced his team. He made sure to make eye contact with each person, human and Veltron alike. When he looked at the princess, she seemed surprised and quickly looked away. The meeting began. Talvin spoke with a strong, clear voice. "The Veltron Empire thanks humanity for this opportunity. We wish to discuss access to the mineral deposits on the moons of Threshold 9. The negotiations were professional, but cold. Hyun noticed something strange. Whenever anyone mentioned the princess, they never used a name. They called her the 4th daughter, or the princess, or simply she. Even her own brother referred to her only as the spare. During a break, Hyun walked over to Yuna. "Have you noticed they never use her name?" Yuna nodded. "I caught that too. I've been searching the database. Her name appears only once in all the records we have, on her birth certificate. It's Liray." "Liray," Hyun repeated quietly. "Why wouldn't they use it?" "I don't know. But it feels wrong." The second meeting was worse. The princess sat completely still, her hands folded in her lap. When Talven presented a proposal, she opened her mouth as if to speak, but he held up a hand without even looking at her. She closed her mouth and looked down. Hyun felt anger rise in his chest. He had seen many things in his years as a diplomat, but watching someone be erased while they sat right there was different. It hurt to witness. That evening there was a reception. Humans and Velthrons stood in small groups, drinking and talking. Hyun saw the princess standing alone near a corner. No one approached her. She looked like she wanted to disappear into the wall. He walked over with 2 glasses of water. "The artificial gravity on these stations always makes me thirsty," he said, offering her one. She stared at the glass like it might be a trap. Thank you? May I stand here? The crowd is a bit much for me sometimes." She nodded, confused. Hyun noticed her hands trembled slightly as she took the glass. They stood in silence for a moment. Then Heian said, "What do you think of the proposals so far?" The princess looked at him with wide eyes. Why are you asking me?" "Because you're part of the delegation. I'm curious about your perspective." She seemed to struggle with how to respond. Finally, she said quietly, "No one has asked me that before." "Really? But you've been in the meetings." "I'm just there to be there. The fourth daughter must accompany the delegation, but no one expects me to speak." Hyun felt his heart break a little. "That seems like a waste. You look like you have thoughts." A small, sad smile crossed her face. "I do have thoughts, but thoughts from a spare daughter are not valuable." "I don't believe that," Hyun said. She looked at him with something like wonder. "You're very strange for a diplomat." "I get that a lot." They talked for a few more minutes. She told him about the journey to the station. He told her about Earth and the city where he grew up. It was simple conversation, but she seemed to grow a little taller, a little less invisible. When the reception ended, Hyun went back to his quarters. He couldn't stop thinking about the princess. He asked the computer to search for information about Veltron culture. What he found disturbed him. In Veltron society, names were earned. Only important people, successful people, people who mattered got to have their names used. Everyone else was identified by their function or title. A servant was servant, a soldier was soldier, a spare daughter was spare daughter. The computer found philosophical texts that explained it. Names were precious. They were reserved for those who had proven their worth. To use someone's name when they had not earned it was considered mockery. But to Hyun, it seemed like cruelty. Every person had a name. Every person had value. How could an entire civilization function while pretending some of its people didn't fully exist? He thought about the princess, Liray. Her name was beautiful, and she had lived for decades without hearing anyone speak it. Daehyun found him at his desk at midnight, still reading. "You should sleep. Big day tomorrow." "How do you negotiate with people who think some of their own people are worthless?" Hyun asked. "Carefully," Daehyun said. "But I know that look. You're not going to be careful, are you?" Hyun closed his computer. "I'm going to be respectful, but I'm not going to pretend I don't see her." "Her?" "The princess, Liray. She has a name, and I'm going to use it." Daehyun sighed. "This could cause problems." "I know," Hyun said. "But some things are more important than smooth negotiations." Outside the window, the stars burned cold and distant. Somewhere in those negotiations, a princess sat alone in her quarters, believing she was forgettable. Tomorrow, Hyun decided, she would learn that at least one person remembered her name. He didn't know it yet, but that simple decision would change everything. The morning meeting started exactly on time. Hyun sat across from the Veltron delegation, his team beside him. The princess sat in the same spot as yesterday, quiet and still. Minho, the human cultural attaché, presented Earth's proposal for shared mining operations. He spoke clearly, outlining fair divisions of resources and profits. The Velthrons listened without much emotion on their faces. When Minho finished, Ambassador Talvin leaned back in his chair. "Your proposal is acceptable in structure. However, the profit split favors your side too heavily." "We can discuss adjustments," Hyun said. "What percentage would the Empire consider fair?" As Talvin talked about numbers, Hyun noticed the princess lean forward slightly. Her eyes were focused on the holographic display showing the mining sites. She seemed to be doing calculations in her head. Talvin continued, "We propose 65% to the Empire, 35% to Earth." The princess's hand twitched. She wanted to say something, but she stayed silent. After the meeting, Hyun pulled Minho aside. "Tell me more about their culture. This name thing." Minho nodded. "I've been studying it. In Veltron society, there are clear levels. At the top are the achievers, people who have done great things, earned glory, brought honor to the empire. They get their names used freely. And everyone else? They're known by what they do or what they are. A cook is just cook. A ship captain is captain. Children of nobles who haven't done anything important are called by their birth order. First son, second daughter, fourth daughter. That's horrible, Hyun said. Minho shrugged. It's their way. They believe it motivates people to achieve. Why should someone be remembered if they haven't done anything worth remembering? Because they're a person, Hyun said firmly. That should be enough. To humans, yes. But we're different. We think every individual has inherent worth. The Velthrons think worth must be earned. Hyun felt frustrated. So the princess, Lyrae, she's lived her whole life without anyone using her name. Probably. Fourth children of empresses rarely get opportunities to distinguish themselves. She's just there as a backup, in case something happens to the others. That afternoon, Hyun found Jiwon, his assistant, searching through files. What are you looking for? Information on Princess Lyrae, Jiwon said. You asked about her last night, so I got curious. Look at this. She showed him her screen. Her name appears exactly once in all official records. Her birth documentation. After that, every single mention just says fourth daughter or uses her title. Even in educational records, awards she won as a child, it's all just Princess of Velthron, fourth daughter. Awards? Hyun leaned closer. She was brilliant as a child, top scores in mathematics, physics, xenobiology. Then around age 15, the records just stop, like she disappeared. She didn't disappear, Hyun said quietly. She just became invisible. That evening, Hyun made sure to walk through the observation deck at the same time the Velthrons usually took their rest period. He found the princess there, standing alone and looking out at the nebula visible in the distance. The colors are different every day, he said, walking up beside her. She turned. Surprised. They are. The stellar winds change the gas patterns. I didn't know that. Do you study astrophysics? She hesitated. I did. When I was younger. Before... She stopped. Before what? Before it became clear that my studies didn't matter. Fourth daughters don't need education. We just need to exist and look proper at events. Hyun felt anger again, but he kept his voice gentle. That must be frustrating, having a mind like yours and not being able to use it. She looked at him with those large, expressive eyes. Why do you keep talking to me? Because I enjoy it. You're interesting. I'm not interesting. I'm just a spare. You're wrong, Hyun said. You're clearly intelligent. You notice things. And you matter. She laughed, but it was a sad sound. You're kind to say so. But in my world, I don't matter. I never will. Maybe you're in the wrong world then. She looked back at the nebula. I used to think about that when I was young. I would imagine running away, going somewhere no one knew I was the fourth daughter, somewhere I could just be myself. What stopped you? Fear and duty. And the knowledge that even if I ran, I would still be nobody. At least here, I'm nobody important. Out there, I would just be nobody. Hyun wanted to argue, but he could see the pain in her eyes. This wasn't something that could be fixed with one conversation. They stood in silence for a while. Then she said, The prophet split my brother proposed today is wrong. Wrong how? The mining sites he's claiming for the Empire are in unstable areas. The moons have volcanic activity. Within 5 years, 2 of those sites will be unusable. He's trying to give you the bad locations and keep the good ones. Hyun's eyes widened. Are you sure? I reviewed the geological surveys this morning. I might not be allowed to speak in meetings, but I still read everything. The data is clear. Why didn't you say something? Because no one would listen. And if by some miracle they did listen, my brother would be embarrassed. Embarrassing the first son is not something a spare daughter does. Hyun pulled out his tablet. Can you show me which sites are unstable? She looked nervous. I shouldn't. This is Empire information. You're trying to make the negotiation fair. That's not betrayal. That's honesty. Slowly, she took the tablet. Her fingers moved quickly, pulling up maps and data. She showed him 3 mining sites that would fail within a decade. She explained the volcanic patterns, the tectonic shifts, the mineral composition that made long-term mining impossible. You're brilliant, Hyun said when she finished. She handed back the tablet quickly. Please don't tell anyone I told you. I won't reveal my source, but I am going to use this information to negotiate better terms for both our sides. Both sides? Yes, because a fair deal is better than a deal where one side is cheating. Even if we don't know it yet, we'd find out eventually. Then there would be anger and broken trust. She studied his face. You really believe that? I do. And I think deep down you do too. Otherwise you wouldn't have told me, she smiled, a real smile this time. Maybe. Or maybe I just wanted someone to know that I'm not completely useless. You're not useless at all, Hyun said firmly. When she left, Hyun stood at the window for a long time. Sora, one of the human security officers, walked by on patrol. You're making friends with the Veltrans? She asked. Trying to, Hyun said. The quiet one seems lonely. She is lonely. Her whole life has been lonely. Sora nodded. That's sad. Everyone should have at least one person who sees them. Yes, Hyun said. Everyone should. Back in his quarters, Hyun prepared for the next day's negotiation. He had the information about the unstable mining sites. He could use it to get better terms for Earth. But he could also use it to show the Velthrans that honesty mattered. Daehyun came in with food. You're planning something. I'm planning to treat everyone with respect, even the ones who think they don't deserve it. The princess? Her name is Lire, Hyun said. And yes, tomorrow I'm going to make sure everyone knows it. The banquet hall was decorated with lights that mimicked stars. It was supposed to be a celebration. The negotiations were going well, and both sides had agreed to most of the basic terms. Tonight was about building goodwill before the final agreements. Hyun walked into the hall with his team. The room was full of diplomats, scientists, and military officers from both species. Velthrans stood in groups, their robes shimmering. Humans mingled between them, trying to bridge the cultural gap. The main table sat on a raised platform. Ambassador Talvin sat at the center, with his top advisors on either side. The table was beautiful, covered with fine cloth and exotic foods from both worlds. Hyun looked around for the princess. He found her at a small table near the back of the room, almost hidden behind a decorative plant. She sat alone, a plate of untouched food in front of her. She looked like she was trying to become part of the furniture. Sora noticed where he was looking. That's not right. She should be at the main table with her family. In their culture, she hasn't earned that right, Yuna said sadly. She's just decoration, here to show that the royal family sent representatives, but not important enough to actually participate. Hyun made a decision. Excuse me. He walked across the room, ignoring the main table entirely. Every step felt important. He could feel eyes following him. By the time he reached the princess's table, half the room was watching. The princess looked up, startled. Diplomat Hyun? Did you need something? Hyun stood straight and spoke clearly, loud enough for nearby tables to hear. Princess Lire, I was hoping you might honor me with your thoughts on the treaty terms we discussed today. The princess froze, completely still. Her eyes went wide, and her mouth opened slightly, but no sound came out. Her hands resting on the table began to tremble. The room went silent. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. Glasses stopped clinking. Even the music seemed to fade. Hyun realized what he had done. He had spoken her name, her actual name, in public, in front of everyone. A Velthron counselor named Ethmar stood up from a nearby table. "Human diplomat, you have made an error. That is the fourth daughter. She does not have input on treaty matters." "I asked Princess Lyrae," Hyun said calmly, "and I would very much like to hear her perspective." Ambassador Talvin stood at the main table. His face showed confusion and anger. "The spare daughter has no official role in these negotiations. She is here only as a member of the royal family." Hyun kept his eyes on the princess. She was still frozen, staring at him like he had just performed magic. Her hands gripped the edge of the table. "Princess Lyrae," Hyun said gently, "you mentioned yesterday that you had reviewed the geological surveys. I would value your analysis." She tried to speak. Her lips moved, but nothing came out at first. She swallowed hard and tried again. I don't—" "Take your time," Hyun said. "I'm genuinely interested." Something changed in her eyes. The shock began to fade, replaced by something else. Determination, maybe. Or perhaps it was years of silence finally breaking. She stood up slowly. Her voice was soft at first, but it grew stronger. "The mining sites proposed in Section 7 of the treaty are built on unstable ground. The moons have active volcanic systems. Based on the seismic data, 3 of the proposed sites will be unusable within 5 to 7 years due to lava flows and tectonic shifts." The room was completely silent now. Every person, human and Velthran, was listening. She continued, her voice steady now. "The treaty should be amended to relocate those mining operations to the northern hemisphere of the second moon, where the mineral deposits are equally rich, but the ground is stable. This would benefit both our peoples, as it would prevent the waste of resources building facilities that will be destroyed." She pulled out a small data tablet. "I have the full analysis here, with projections and alternative site recommendations." Hyun smiled. "That's exactly the kind of insight we need. May I see your data?" She handed him the tablet with shaking hands. Hyun reviewed it quickly, though he had seen most of it already when she showed him yesterday. "This is excellent work, Princess Lyrae. Thorough and well-researched." Talvin's face had gone dark. "Fourth daughter, you overstep. These matters are not your concern." "Actually," Hyun said, turning to face the ambassador, "these matters concern everyone involved in the treaty. If Princess Lyrae has identified a serious flaw, we should address it." "She is not qualified to—" "She's clearly very qualified," Hyun interrupted. "Her analysis is detailed and based on solid data. Are you saying the data is wrong?" Talvin looked trapped. If he said yes, he would have to prove it. If he said no, he would have to acknowledge that his spare daughter was right, and he was wrong. Counselor Ethmar spoke up. "The human is violating our customs. Names are earned, not given freely." Junho, the human ambassador, stood up from the human side of the room. "With respect, Counselor, we are not bound by your customs regarding names. In human culture, every person has a name and deserves to have it used." "You mock our ways," Ethmar said. "We respect your ways," Junho replied. "But we also respect every individual's personhood. Princess Lyrae has provided valuable information. We will not ignore it simply because of her birth order." Daehyun and Sora had moved closer to Hyun, not threatening but present. They knew this situation could turn bad quickly. The princess looked around the room. For the first time in her life, people were looking at her, really seeing her, not looking through her or past her, but at her. "I apologize if I have caused offense," she said quietly. "I only wanted to help make the treaty fair." "You have caused no offense," Hyun said firmly. "You have done exactly what any good diplomat should do. You identified a problem and proposed a solution." Talvin came down from the main table. He walked over to his sister, his face cold. "We will discuss this later." "There's nothing to discuss," Hyun said. "Princess Lyrae has contributed valuable analysis to the negotiations. I'm requesting that she be given a formal seat at tomorrow's meeting so we can address her findings." "That is not your decision to make," Talvin said. "Then let's make it official. I'm formally requesting the Velthran Empire include Princess Lyrae in tomorrow's session as a technical advisor. Her expertise in geology and planetary science is clearly relevant." Yuna stepped forward. "I second that request. We need all relevant experts involved if we're going to create a lasting agreement." Minho nodded. "As cultural attaché, I support this as well. Good diplomacy means using all available knowledge." Talvin looked like he wanted to refuse, but too many people were watching. The humans had made it a formal request. Refusing would make him look weak, like he was afraid of his own sister's intelligence. "I will consult with my advisors," he said stiffly. Then he looked at his sister. "Come with me." The princess looked at Hyun. There were tears in her eyes, but she was smiling. "Thank you," she whispered. Then she followed her brother out of the hall. The moment she was gone, the room burst into conversation. Velthrons argued with each other. Humans talked excitedly about what just happened. Daehyun put a hand on Hyun's shoulder. "Well, you certainly made an impression." "Did I do the right thing?" Hyun asked. "You treated her like a person. That's always right." Sora looked worried, though. "But what's going to happen to her now?" Her brother looked angry. "I know," Hyun said, "but she deserves better than being invisible. Even if it's hard, even if it causes problems, she deserves to be seen." Later that night, Hyun couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about the look on the princess's face when he said her name. The complete shock, like her whole world had shifted. He wondered if he had helped her or made everything worse. He wondered what her brother was saying to her right now. He wondered if speaking one person's name could really change anything. But then he thought about her smile as she left. The tears of joy mixed with fear. The sound of her voice getting stronger as she explained her analysis. Maybe he couldn't change the whole Veltron Empire. But he had changed one moment for one person. And maybe, just maybe, that would be enough. Princess Lyrae sat in her quarters, unable to sleep. The room was quiet except for the soft hum of the station's life support systems. She kept replaying the moment in her mind. The human diplomat had spoken her name. Her name. She whispered it to herself. Lyrae. It felt strange in her mouth, like a word from a foreign language. When was the last time she had heard it? She couldn't remember. 10 years? 20? Maybe not since she was a small child. A soft knock came at the door. "Princess?" It was Kess, her handmaiden. Kess had been with her for 5 years. The Veltron woman was kind, but she had never used Lyrae's name either. She couldn't. Kess was a servant, someone with even less status than a spare daughter. "Come in," Lyrae said. Kess entered carrying a tray with warm tea. She set it down and studied Lyrae's face. "You look different." "Different how?" "I don't know. Lighter, maybe. Like something heavy has been lifted." Lyrae touched her face, as if she could feel the change. "Someone used my name tonight, in front of everyone." Kess's eyes widened. "The human diplomat. I heard about it. Everyone is talking." "What are they saying?" "Many things. Some say he insulted our culture. Others say he's a fool who doesn't understand our ways." Kess paused. "But some of the younger Velthrons, the ones who haven't achieved much yet, they're asking questions." "Questions about what?" "About why humans treat everyone with respect, even people like us, people without names." Lyrae looked at her handmaiden. "You have a name, Kess." "Not really. Kess is what my mother called me, but it's never been official. I'm just handmaiden in all records." That's not right. It's how things are, Kess said simply. But there was something in her voice, a tiny spark of hope. But maybe things could be different. In another part of the station, Hyun sat with Tai Yang, the human psychologist assigned to monitor the cultural exchanges. Tai Yang looked worried. You may have caused a diplomatic incident, Tai Yang said. The Veltron delegation is very upset. Several of them have filed formal complaints about cultural insensitivity. I was respectful, Hyun said. I just used her name. In their culture, that's not respectful. It's presumptuous. You basically told them that you think their social hierarchy is wrong. I do think it's wrong. Tae Yang sighed. Hyun, I understand. Personally, I agree with you. But as a psychologist, I have to warn you. You might have made things much worse for Princess Lire. How? Her family is angry. They see her as the cause of their embarrassment. She broke protocol by speaking out. Now they have to decide how to respond. They might punish her. They might send her away somewhere even more isolated than she already is. Hyun felt his stomach sink. I was trying to help her. I know. But help can be complicated, especially when it challenges an entire society's worldview. Should I apologize? Would you mean it? Hyun thought about the look on Lire's face when he said her name. The shock, then the joy. No, I wouldn't mean it. Then don't apologize. But be prepared for consequences. The next morning, Ambassador Talven summoned his sister to his quarters. Lire went, her heart pounding. She had been summoned by her brother before, always for lectures about staying quiet and not causing problems. Did you ask the human to do that? Talven demanded the moment she entered. No, I was as surprised as everyone else. Then why did he use your name? Why did he ask for your opinion? I don't know. He's different. He talks to me like I'm a real person. Talven's face darkened. You are a spare. You're not supposed to be a real person in the way he means. You're supposed to exist quietly, marry whoever the Empire chooses for you, and produce children who might be more useful than you are. The words hurt, but they weren't new. Lire had heard variations of this her entire life. I didn't ask him to speak to me, she said quietly. But you responded. You gave him information about the mining sites. You made me look incompetent in front of the entire delegation. I gave him accurate information. The sites you chose are unstable. You know this. You've seen the same geological data I have. Talven stepped closer. You think you're clever, don't you? You think because one human paid attention to you, you suddenly matter? I think the treaty should be fair and based on truth. The treaty is about advantage. We take what we can get. If the sites fail in 5 years, that's Earth's problem, not ours. That's dishonest. That's politics. Something you will never understand because you will never be important enough to practice it. Lire felt something crack inside her. Years of staying silent, of accepting her worthlessness, of believing she was nothing. And then one human had said her name and treated her like she mattered. She couldn't go back to the silence now. Maybe I don't understand politics, she said, her voice shaking but growing stronger. But I understand right and wrong, and what you're doing is wrong. Talven looked shocked. His spare sister had never challenged him before. You forget yourself. No. For the first time in my life, I'm remembering myself. My name is Lire. I am intelligent. I have value. And I will not stay silent anymore. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Talven's face hardened. We'll see how long that lasts. The humans will leave eventually, and you'll be alone again with your family who knows exactly what you are. Nothing. He walked to the door. You're attending today's meeting, since the humans insisted. But after that, you're going home to Veltra, and you will never embarrass this family again. When he left, Lyrae sat down, shaking. She had never spoken to her brother like that. She felt terrified and exhilarated at the same time. The meeting that day was tense. Lyrae sat at the table, officially recognized as a technical advisor. It felt strange to be at the main table instead of hiding in a corner. Hyun smiled at her when she entered. "Good morning, Princess Lyrae." "Good morning, Diplomat Hyun." The other humans followed his lead. Yuna, Minho, Jiwon, even Ambassador Junho, they all used her name. Each time someone said it, Lyrae felt a little more real. The Veltrons still wouldn't use it. They called her fourth daughter or the princess, or simply avoided addressing her directly. But the humans had created a crack in the wall of her invisibility. During the meeting, her geological analysis was discussed. The humans requested that the unstable mining sites be replaced with the alternatives Lyrae had identified. Talvin had no choice but to agree. The data was clear, and refusing would make him look either incompetent or dishonest. When the meeting ended, several younger Veltrons approached Lyrae quietly. They were low-ranking members of the delegation, people who also lived without their names being used. "That was brave," one of them whispered. "What you did?" "I just told the truth," Lyrae said. "Still brave. Most of us don't dare." That evening, Hyun found Lyrae at the observation window again. She was crying softly. "Are you all right?" he asked. "I don't know. My brother is sending me home. Says I embarrassed the family. But also, someone used my name today. Several people. And it felt like I had been holding my breath my whole life and finally got to breathe. I'm sorry if I made things difficult for you." "Don't be sorry. You gave me something I thought I'd lost forever. You reminded me that I exist." "You always existed." "Not really. Not in any way that mattered. I was just a placeholder, a backup in case my siblings died. But when you said my name, for just a moment I was real." They stood quietly, watching the stars. "What will happen when you go home?" Hyun asked. "I don't know. Probably nothing good. But I can't go back to being invisible. Not anymore. You showed me what it feels like to be seen, and I can't forget that. If you ever need help, I know. Thank you, Hyun, for everything." The final day of negotiations arrived with unexpected news. The Empress of the Velthran Empire was coming to the station. Her ship would arrive in 3 hours. "This is not good," Minho said at the emergency meeting of the human delegation. "Empresses don't just show up to mining negotiations. She's coming because of what happened with the princess." "She's coming to smooth things over," Junho said. "Probably to apologize for her daughter and remove her from the delegation." Hyun felt anger rise in his chest. "Apologize for what? Princess Lyrae did nothing wrong. She helped make the treaty better for both sides." In Velthran terms, she stepped out of place. She embarrassed her brother and challenged the social order. Taeyang said, "The Empress is going to contain the situation." "By doing what to Lyrae?" No one answered. They didn't know, but everyone feared the worst. When the Empress's ship docked, the entire station seemed to hold its breath. Empress Velshara was tall even for a Veltron, with silver markings on her skin that indicated age and power. She wore robes that seemed to be made of starlight itself. She was beautiful and terrifying. Ambassador Talvin greeted his mother with a formal bow. The rest of the Velthran delegation did the same. Lyrae stood at the back, her head bowed. The Empress looked over her delegation with cold eyes. Then she looked at the humans. "I apologize for arriving without notice. I came to address an unfortunate situation." "There's no situation, Your Majesty," Junho said diplomatically. "The negotiations have been productive." "Productive, yes, but proper? My son informs me that one of my daughters has forgotten her place." Lyrae flinched, but didn't look up. Hyun stepped forward. "Your Majesty, If you're referring to Princess Lyrae, she has been nothing but helpful and professional. The Empress turned her cold gaze to him. You are the human who has been using her name. I am. My name is Hyun. And yes, I have used Princess Lyrae's name because that is her name. In human culture, using someone's name is a sign of respect. In our culture, it is presumptuous. I understand that our cultures differ, Your Majesty, but I cannot pretend that Princess Lyrae doesn't have a name, or that she doesn't have value. Value is earned, human. No, Your Majesty. With respect, value is inherent. Every person has worth simply because they exist. What they do with their life may earn them honor or recognition, but their basic value as a person doesn't need to be earned. It just is. The Empress studied him. You believe this? Every human believes this. It's one of our most fundamental principles. How strange. And yet you have achieved much with this belief. Your species has spread across the stars quickly, built strong alliances, created remarkable technology. Perhaps there is something to this idea of inherent worth. She turned to her daughter. Lyrae, look at me. The princess raised her head slowly. Her eyes were red from crying, but she met her mother's gaze. Is it true that you identified flaws in the treaty proposal? Yes, Your Majesty. And you did this without being asked? Yes. I thought it was important. The unstable mining sites would have caused problems for both our empire and Earth. Show me your analysis. Lyrae pulled out her tablet with trembling hands. She brought up her geological surveys, her seismic data, her projections. The Empress reviewed it all in silence. Finally, she spoke. This is excellent work, thorough and well-reasoned. Lyrae looked shocked. Thank you, Your Majesty. You have been studying geology? For years. I had to do something with my time. The Empress's expression was unreadable. I did not know you had this skill. Why was I not informed? Because I'm the fourth daughter. My skills don't matter. They matter if they benefit the Empire. She turned to Talvin. You are going to sign a treaty with unstable mining sites? This would have cost us millions in wasted resources. Talvin looked uncomfortable. I believed we could extract enough value before the sites became unstable. That is short-term thinking. Foolish. The Empress looked back at Lyrae. Your sister saved us from a costly mistake. Sister. Not fourth daughter, not the spare. Sister. Lyrae's eyes went wide. So did everyone else's in the room. The Empress continued. I came here to remove an embarrassment from my delegation. But I see now that the embarrassment is not where I thought it was. She walked to the center of the room. The humans have shown us something interesting. They treat all their people as if they have value, and this has made them strong. Perhaps we have been wasteful in our own way. How many brilliant minds have we ignored because they were not first born? How many solutions have we missed because we didn't listen to the unimportant ones? Counselor Ethmar spoke up. Your Majesty, surely you're not suggesting we change our entire social structure because of one incident? I'm suggesting we be practical. If someone has skills that benefit the Empire, we should use those skills regardless of birth order. She turned to Hyun. Human diplomat, you have made your point. My daughter has value. I acknowledge this, not because you forced me to see it, but because the evidence is clear. She prevented a costly error. Thank you, Your Majesty, Hyun said. But I hope you see that her value doesn't come from preventing that error. She had value before that simply because she's a person. That philosophical point is one we may debate for years, but for now I will make a practical decision. She looked at Lyrae. You will not return to Veltra in disgrace. Instead, you will remain here as part of the negotiation team. Your expertise is clearly needed. Lyrae looked like she might faint. Your Majesty? You heard me. You will help finalize this treaty. Your name will appear in the final document as a contributing expert. My name? Yes, Lyrae. That is your name, is it not? Tears streamed down Lyrae's face. Yes, Your Majesty. That is my name. Talvin looked furious but couldn't say anything in front of his mother. The other Velthrons looked confused, uncertain how to react to this sudden change. The Empress addressed the whole room. Let this be a lesson. The Empire does not waste resources, any resource, including the minds of those we have overlooked. She swept out of the room, leaving shocked silence behind her. Lyrae stood frozen, tears still falling. Kess rushed to her side, but this time she whispered, Princess Lyrae, are you all right? Lyrae laughed through her tears. You used my name. The Empress did. I thought, maybe it's allowed now. Maybe it is. Hyan walked over to them. Are you all right, Princess Lyrae? I don't know. I think so. I feel like I'm dreaming. You're not dreaming. You earned this. No, you gave me this. You made them see me. I just said your name. You did the rest. Your intelligence, your courage, your work. That was all you. She looked at him with gratitude and something else, something deeper. You changed my life. You know that, right? You changed your own life. I just reminded you that you could. Over the next 2 days, the treaty was finalized. Lyrae sat at the table as an equal, contributing her expertise. The other Velthrons began to use her name, hesitantly at first, then more naturally. The treaty was stronger because of her input, fairer to both sides. On the last day, as the delegations prepared to leave, Lyrae found Hyun at their usual spot by the observation window. I wanted to say goodbye, she said, and thank you. One more time. You don't need to thank me. Yes, I do. You gave me back something I thought was lost forever. My name, myself, my belief that I matter. You always mattered. But I didn't know it, not until you showed me. She pulled out a small data chip. My contact information. If you ever need anything, anything at all, I want you to call me. Hyun took the chip. I will. And Lyrae? Yes? Keep being brilliant. Keep speaking up. The galaxy needs your voice. She smiled, and it was a real smile, full of hope. I will. Because of you. I know my voice is worth hearing. As her ship pulled away from the station, Hyun stood at the window with Dae-hyun. You think you changed an empire? Dae-hyun asked. No, I don't think I changed an empire. I just helped one person remember who they are. But maybe that's enough. Maybe if enough people remember that they matter, the empire will have to change on its own. Deep thoughts for a Thursday. Hyun laughed. Maybe. But I've learned something. The biggest changes sometimes come from the smallest acts. Remembering someone's name, seeing them when everyone else looks away, treating them like they matter. Very human of you. Yes, very human. And I think that's our strength. We don't measure worth, we recognize it, in everyone. The stars shone cold and distant, but somewhere among them, a princess who had been invisible her whole life was finally learning to be seen, and all because one human had remembered her name. Hyun smiled. Sometimes, the most powerful weapon humanity had wasn't technology or strength. It was simple, basic kindness. The willingness to see every person as valuable, to remember every name, to insist that everyone mattered. That was the human way, and maybe, just maybe, it would change the galaxy, one person at a time. Come on, Dae-hyun said. We have reports to write. In a minute, Hyun said. I just want to watch the stars a little longer. He thought about Lyrae, about her tears when her mother used her name, about her smile as she left. He thought about all the others like her, the forgotten ones, the overlooked ones, the ones whose names had been lost. Maybe he couldn't help them all. But he had helped one, and that one person would help others. And those others would help more, like ripples spreading across a pond. That was how change happened, not all at once, but one name at a time, one person at a time, one moment of recognition at a time. And it all started with something so simple, so basic, so human, remembering that everyone deserves to be seen.